area. I want to welcome you all to our Building Food Security 101 panel discussion. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide residents of complete communities and surrounding Houston communities information on ways to help resolve the challenges of food insecurities and increase access to healthy food for families. Before we get started, let's go through a few virtual meeting rules. We ask that you mute your phones by pressing *6 to mute and unmute. Please use only one device so there will be no interference with the audio. Use the raise your hand feature to ask questions, or you can drop your questions into the chat. At the end of the meeting, please hang up on all logged in devices. Our goal tonight is to provide resources to achieve food securities, improve resident health, and promote sustainable agriculture. I am so excited this evening because in a few minutes, you're going to hear from our panelists who will share with you their experience and hard work to build food security in their neighborhood. So let's get started. We're going to do introductions, and we're going to do it in a fabulous way this evening. We're going to do shout outs. So let us know in the chat who you are, what community you're representing, and answer this question. What does food security mean to you? Let's go, Benny. Who's on the call tonight? I want to see people putting their information in. Let's go. Thank you. I don't see anyone. Okay, let's see. Miss Cynthia Sidney.
Oh,
Miss Sidney.
yes.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just picking on. I'm picking on a few people. We didn't get anything in the chat yet, so
I was typing.
you were typing. Okay, all right.
Well, healthy food is nutritionist means healthy healthcare.
Okay. So where you from, Miss Sydney?
Houston for a band.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Let's see who we have in the chat.
I see we have Miss Deborah Walker from Sunnyside. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Can we speak on our own, or do you all have to speak for us?
We were doing shout outs. If you put your information in the chat, we were going to shout you out, but it was so quiet. I just picked on somebody out of the chat line to get it started. So.
Well, I put mine in the chat. I did. I didn't know if I had to say something or type it in or what, but I did.
Okay. Well, Miss Diane, since you're on, go.
Okay, I'm Diane Iglehart. I am a resident here in Southwest Houston. I live in Southwest Crossing, but I worship in Third Ward. And the ministry that I am over there, I'm the mission servant leader, and we address food insecurities in my mission field area. So I look at myself as having two communities that I serve and that I try to make better. But to me, you want me to tell you what food insecurity is or what is not food insecurity?
So what does food security mean to you?
Oh, security. Okay, not with the prefix. Oh, security means that it's accessible. You can easily get food, nutritious food, not just fast food and munch food, but something nutritious that is sustain your health.
Thank you, Ms. Diane. Who else do we have in the chat, Benny?
Okay, we have Olivia Cunningham. She's with kids meals, and food security means adequate and accessible healthy foods and food resources for a certain family or neighborhood or community. Let's see what else we just spoke with here. I have Chef Tarsha Gary, founder and educator of Urban Farmer with Ectone World, Third Ward, and citywide. Food security means residents should be able to obtain fresh, quality food in their respective neighborhoods, schools, and community centers. Okay, I have Whitney Mack. Food security means the ability of individual to give access food that is nutritious. And also Rosie Martinez. Food security means access to healthy foods. Shayna Smith. Food security to me means ensuring that there are reasonably distant places to buy food products. It means that there is a location to buy healthy foods within a reasonable distance of another.
Okay. Shout out, she's a student she lived in the University of Houston, part of town.
And we have one more, scrolling back up to the top. I don't want to mess your name up. I'm going to spell it out. It's Shazia. You're representing the Texas Children's Community Benefits Team. Food security means ensuring that all of our community members have access to food and sustainable access points.
That's Miss Shazia Arroyo.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Let's see, I have Miss Natasha Butler representing the Westwood Super Neighborhood.
Welcome, Miss Natasha. Okay. So let's see. Now we are going to have, thank you all again for joining us this evening. Thank you for dropping your information in the chat. Next, we are going to have introductions by Lynn Henson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited about this workshop this evening because I take a personal interest in health and food and nutrition. From time to time, I grow vegetables in my yard and have tinkered with aquaponics, so this really hits home for me. And I'm also really excited because not only are city staff a part of the call, not only are nonprofits a part of the call, but we also have community members who are leaders in their area who have come up with strategies to address and improve food security in their neighborhoods. And so this is an opportunity to share information across communities. I mentioned that food is kind of a personal and big deal for me. I want to acknowledge that Resilient Houston speaks to food and nutrition. Goal 6 states, we will ensure all neighborhoods are healthy, safe, and climate ready. And the Complete Communities plans, they all speak to health and nutrition and food in one way or another. I won't read them all to you, but I do want to highlight a couple. It calls for an increase and access to fresh and healthy food by attracting new grocery stores, building community gardens and farms, hosting regular farmers markets, and ensuring that food insecurity is addressed. Also, not only is it the way that food is brought to you, but the complete community plans speak to providing cooking and nutrition classes. And food also shows up not only in the health category, but also in the economy and jobs categories, asking to support and grow entrepreneurship, including local food producers. The complete communities plans that I want to mention, and as I said earlier, there are many others, but I want to highlight this one. Increasing access to fresh and nutritious foods at corner stores and other sites, as well as advocating for grocery stores. I want to thank the panel members for being here and sharing their expertise, their knowledge, their practice, and turn it back over to the staff. Oh, one more thank you. I also want to thank the staff for their hard work, for the dedication to communities and improving communities in the city of Houston. Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a great panel this evening to talk to you. Now I will introduce them to you. We have Mr. Keith Downey, with the president of Cashmere Garden Super Neighborhood Council, Mr. Tommy Garcia Pratt with Second Ward Forum, and Kristen Bennett with Communities for Better Health. I'm going to ask the panel to introduce yourselves and tell us about your efforts to help build food security in your neighborhood. Mr. Downey, we're going to begin with you.
Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone to this panel discussion. It's important that we have, of course, nutrition to put on the tables of residents in our communities. And, when you hear resident, we need a new grocery store, we need a new grocery store. Yes, we do. But while we're waiting on that new grocery store, we have some stores in our community. That's one of our commonalities. All stores are not the same, of course. And while we're waiting, we can help shore up some of the stores that we have, such as grocery stores, such as a term that I'm going to speak of that very few people may have heard of. You heard of food deserts, but there's a thing called food swamp. A food swamp is an underserved community that's high in fast food establishments and convenience stores and hard to find quality, fresh food and produce. That's a term that was coined about 10 years ago, I think in Alabama, Georgia. And I've learned that term recently, excuse me. And so saying that, some of the efforts that have gone forth, I've received calls from residents, Mr. Downey. I've gone into the box store in the community and it sells food that is withered. It is not fresh. The meat doesn't seem to be fresh or has an expired date. Well, over the last couple of years, we've tried to help make them stronger and shore them up by building relationships with the store director and the staff and administration at these stores as well. I've also had to go as far as law enforcement has gone into some of these stores with me. I've had the constable's office go into our big box store because I want other eyes on the problem. I don't want it to be me versus Super Neighborhood versus the store saying, no, we didn't do that. And so some of these issues were found by law enforcement themselves, and they made a complaint. And I want to thank the Houston Health Department for being responsive when these complaints are made, because it's very important. We have many convenience stores in our community. All kind of things sometimes go on in these convenience stores. We have a convenience store in our community where I pulled the police record, open records request for how many times law enforcement has gone into that store, because it's just inundated with police incidents at that establishment. From January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021, law enforcement has gone into that store 126 times. That's more than just a nuisance. That's a problem. And I was just on a call last night where we're going to try to address these at another level, these issues. We've also built and spoken to the police, HPD, and they've been making compliance checks of all of the grocery stores in the community. In fact, I was speaking with an officer on yesterday. So that advocacy, excuse my boy in the background, Muffin. He wants to be on the Zoom too. But that advocacy is so important. So this is what we have done over time. We have 5 stores that we have found selling outdated items. We made 5 complaints, 5 inspections as a response by the Houston Health Department, 1 store receiving a fine. 1 store is closed. And it's closed not because of the health department going in or what have you like that, but also because the fact that you should not be selling meat that is freezer burnt and of course is outdated. As I mentioned, we've had the police department make compliance checks of all the stores in the community. I also calls reach me, where people are saying, Mr. Downey, I've gone to the fast food establishment and I've run across this problem or that problem. The Super Neighborhood reached out to the CEO at McDonald's and got a response. We've had the regional director meet us in the community, sit down with the store manager of that particular McDonald's, and is building relationships. We're asking that not only the inside of the store be clean, but the outside as well. We've had 4 meetings with the box store, the large box store in our community. And so all of this advocacy seems to really help our community, as far as we tell these different stores that we want them to be good neighbors in our community while we wait on a new store to come along. But I want to say this: thank you to Target Hunger in our community and Ms. Brownlow for all that they have done through the years to help bring nutrition, whether it's at the multi-service center or wherever they have distributed this food, not only in Cashmere Garden, but throughout Northeast Houston. And we appreciate them. We've also started a farmer's market in Cashmere Garden. And that farmers market is going on now, 3 years old, Northeast Community Farmers Market, which I think is slide 11. And we're open every first and third Saturday of the month from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We sell fresh produce, meats from Belleville Meat Market, of course. Only the best. But we've had, we sell bread, honey, you name it. And customers come as far away as Pearland, 80, Spring, and of course, our communities. So it's a market that is growing, but the community is looking forward to that market. And it's right there at LBJ Community Farm. And you can see the shared costs with LBJ. They have a farm there on their premises. I was just there today. And so there are challenges in our community dealing with the food equity and food security. But I think we're on a road that will take us where we are trying to go, to put nutrition on the tables of families. We have relationships with our schools, as well as the larger churches and some small churches in the community, because our communities are church rich. So that being said, there's a lot that's going on to address that. And so that being said, we will continue to grow to try to make sure that people are eating healthy and healthier. Someone asked me years ago, Mr. Downing, this was about 6 or 7 years ago, why do you advocate for freshness and fresh vegetables? Give the people what they want. If they want fried, let it be. I said, no. I said, that food that you will find on our major thoroughfares is high in saturated fat, sodium. It clogs our arteries, high blood pressure, heart disease. And we have a hospital, LBJ Hospital, right there. That's a 210-bed hospital. They're going to be building a new hospital soon, a 400-bed hospital with a heliport. LBJ Hospital is the flagship hospital for Harris Health System. And so that being said, also, we're going to try to, and we're doing it, we're building a relationship with the administration at the hospital, because there's so much more that we can do in our community to help not only Black people, but brown people and whoever else moves into our community, because we're all in this thing together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Downing. Next, we will have Mr. Pratt.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I sent over some slides as well. And I'm happy to share my screen if that would be easier. That's not my slides right there. It's for small places would be the name of it.
We're pulling those up.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting on that, I just will introduce myself. My name's Tommy Garcia Pratt. I'm one of the co-founders and the executive director of Small Places. We run an urban farm in the 2nd Ward, right on the edge of Magnolia Park and Houston's East End. Our farm is named Finca Tres Robles, which is Spanish for 3 Oaks Farm. We lease 1.25 acres of land and have been since 2014. And if you can see the slides there, there's a picture of our farm in relation to downtown Houston. And you can go to the next slide. We're one of the rare pieces of agricultural land inside the 610 loop of Houston. And, you know, a lot of people who come out to our farm now, they've only known our farm as like a productive space. And I just wanted to share a picture of what it looked like when we first went out there in late 2013. Next slide. And we've been working over the last 7.5 years to turn that vacant lot into an extremely productive space. And next slide. You can see just wanted to show some photos of the farm here. Next slide. There's Mike working some land in between the cucumbers and eggplant. You can go to the next slide. Oh yeah, some of our produce, and you can go to the next slide. We found an urban farm on purpose. We tell people we didn't start a farm in the city because we think it's cool. We see it as really a strategic initiative that has a lot of value for cultivating community health. And I'd say the 3 things that define our organization and mentality around food and food production is, 1, we believe quality, nutritious food is a right and shouldn't just be a luxury item for those who can afford it. And kind of 2 would be that the food we grow is for our community. And from day 1, we've always worked to how do we keep 100% of the produce that we grow in the East End? So in our service area, which we include 77011, where the farm is located, 77012, which is just east of us in Magnolia Park, 77003, which is west and south, and then 77023, which is just south of us. And lastly, that farms are central health infrastructure for upending systemic inequalities. I know most people don't think of farms as something that belong in the cities. And I think that's a big part of our mission, is trying to convince people that farms are really integral pieces for fostering community health, especially at the neighborhood level. Next slide. And I think something that really drives us for this is the fact that, you know, zip code is the best predictor of health outcomes. And there's a map there on the slide of life expectancy. But the One Breath Partnership has a number of great slides and something that they call the arrow, which basically shows the maps for so many different factors look like this, where our communities of color are basically struggling with not just food inequity, but you know, exposure to industry and other environmental issues, such as we are challenged with in the East End with so much industry. And I think that's kind of driven our organization of how do we find solutions that are really based in the community and for the community. And I think a couple other points is that often we kind of blame the individual for not making healthy food choices. And something that we've learned over the years is that really health is much larger than just the choices individuals make. And the food makeup of our community is really the result of the policies and food, the food policies and kind of agricultural system that we've set up. So, you know, when we've done our asset map of our community, and there's over 30 convenience stores, over 30 fast food chains, and 60 restaurants and taquerias, as Keith was speaking to, there's really such a plethora of access of cheap, unhealthy food that to think that our community is going to be healthy when it's built and designed like this, I think is just hard to understand the reality of that situation. And I think when we're looking for solutions, we need to understand that health is really a community endeavor. And our goals at our farm is a part of like building out that network and a part of that collaboration and community that fosters that. You can go to the next slide. So just some numbers about the farm. We grow about 10 tons of produce every year, which is about 20,000 pounds of produce. Since COVID hit, we started purchasing from other farmers. Part of that was, our mission as a farm is to help grow demand for fresh produce, as well as connect our food with those who have a need for it as well and might not be able to afford it. So we've supported our farming community with over $120,000 in just economic support through our farm. We serve about 150 households a week, and 1/3 of those are households that are either food insecure or can't afford our produce. And that's through a couple different avenues and partnerships. So last year we donated about 1,500 bags of produce, which is the equivalent of around 10,000 meals. And that's our produce from other farmers as well. But we included pasture-raised eggs, pastured meats, rice and beans. And that's something that's really important to us, that our community, especially those who can't afford it, are still getting the freshest produce, the highest quality proteins as well. And we distribute about almost 5,500 shares in total. Next slide. And really what I think is unique about the farm as like a tool for cultivating community health is really that it's more than just we grow food and we distribute food. We have a really robust field trip program where we have kids from 4 or 5 years old up to college, where we're able to expose them to agriculture, change their relationship of food, of not just something that you pay a couple bucks at the store, but really something that comes from a place, is produced by people working that place and being connected to that place, comes from knowledge and experience that can be shared. We employ and train farmers. Our space is also, we host concerts, we've had dance performances, exercise and fitness, as well as making it a place where sometimes we've made health something that's so boring, and we want health to be something that's not vitamin A and vitamin C alone. It's really, how do we get outside and enjoy our community, get to meet other community members, have fun. It's like the potlucks that we've hosted have been some of our, I think, most beneficial community events, because there's just so much dynamic, good food. People get to meet a diverse group of people who are living in their community, and those sorts of networks and kind of community fostering is really important for supporting each other and being healthy, because it's so hard to be healthy in our communities. Next slide. And just some stats from our farm. We had over 1,100 kids come out in 2019 before COVID hit. We employ 3 full-time and 3 part-time staff, and we had over 40 hands-on classes and community events. And those sorts of things I think are just as important as the food that we're producing, because it just brings people together. It gives them knowledge and skills to take things from the farm into their homes and for themselves and for their families. You go to the next slide. And just what's next to the farm, we actually paused our farming operation at the end of last year because in a really exciting partnership with Harris County, we'll be moving to a larger 1.5 acre site that we'll be at for the next 40 years. So it's a big part of starting our farm was be able to advocate for this, that when we're talking about creating food access points for creating food security, changing food culture of a place, we're talking about, something that happens over decades and not over months and years. So having that sort of long-term land security is something that was part of our Complete Communities plan that we were actively involved in, and just have received so much support from other organizations and members of community that helped advocate for our remaining in the East End community for the long term. We started out as a small business, and we're now transitioning to a 501c3 just to help us increase the impact and the number of households we can serve. And then lastly, the new farm really will be more than just a farm. We'll have the security to help build a small grocery store, have classroom, kitchen, pavilion, so that we can host more comfortably all of our classes and events, and be able to serve more than 150 households. With the store, we hope to triple that within a few years. Next slide. And I think a big part of being a native Houstonian is, how does my community look and be a place that fosters health? And I think we as a community take pride in. And, some of the biggest lessons that we've learned is one that, it's not an indictment of the community or the people in the community that we're unhealthy or that we're being inundated by unhealthy foods. That's really the economic food system that's been established. And I think that understanding is helpful for us as a community to kind of take pride in and motivate ourselves to find those solutions that are within our reach. I think that we need to be the ones that vocalize and show our community leaders what we want and what we need. Not that it hasn't happened, but I know through the farm, it's really, we can bring people out to our farm space and they can see and touch and experience what a farm looks like and how it operates and the food that comes out of that. And then we say agriculture is an urban issue, even if we continue to ignore it. The first farm that I worked on was in a town of 2,500 people, and there were 2 certified organic farms in that town. In Harris County, there's no certified organic farms. And I think if we are going to find systemic long-term solutions for health in our communities, agriculture needs to be a part of the conversation. I think some of the biggest challenges is economically, fresh food is not viable. Most small food grocery stores or farms have struggling just paying their bills. Even large grocery stores don't move into communities because there's quote unquote not enough community spend for them to justify moving in. So how do we kind of overcome the economic burden that our system is set up where the individual and the communities can't afford to make fresh food a viable option? And I think on top of just biggest challenges, I know people starting farmers markets, they have a hard time finding farms to work those farmers markets. We get at least an inquiry a month about someone wanting us to vend in their farmers market just because they can't find farmers. And I think that's something that we just have to overcome. And just the ongoing work of building food security in our neighborhood. We really want to focus on just something that's important to us is the community scale. It's like, how can we find solutions that we as a community in a neighborhood, we can organize ourselves to make happen. We like to think that, the solutions that we need are already in our neighborhood. And really community empowerment, community sovereignty, our own communities having the power to define and produce food for ourselves is something that we see as vital. So thanks for having me on here and letting me speak about, small places and our farm. And we're really looking forward to our future, what our future farm will look like and supporting other farms and food initiatives in our city as well. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tommy. Next, we will have Kristen. You're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Hi, I'm Kristen Bennett. I am the founder of Communities for Better Health. We are a nonprofit organization here in the Houston area working with communities to address various different social determinants of health. One of our priority communities that we focused in kind of since our inception in 2018 is the Acres Homes community. I am a transplant from Austin, Texas. I'm not originally from Houston, but I got closely acquainted with the Acres Homes community during my undergraduate studies at the University of Houston and my graduate studies at UT School of Public Health. I had done a lot of work in this community, and when the Complete Communities Initiative kind of came on board, I was kind of voluntold to lead the Acres Homes Health Action Team. And a big part of that group was implementing the different programs and items that were on there that the community identified that they needed and wanted to make their communities healthier. And a lot of the Acres Homes projects that they selected were related to food security. So that's kind of the work that Communities for Better Health has been doing in the Acres Homes community since 2018. We do run the Acres Homes Farmers Market, which runs on the first and third Saturday of every month. We've also partnered with Can Do Houston to implement the Healthy Corner Stores initiative, which is something that the community also wanted. Similar to what Keith said, Acres Homes is a community that has a lot of corner stores, a lot of gas stations. And one of the things that Can Do has done in other communities is capitalize on that space and use that space to provide healthier options to community residents in those corner stores. So we partner with Can Do. We're currently running the Healthy Corner Stores initiative out of 2 convenience stores in Acres Homes. One of them is on West Little York. The other one is on Dupreece. But Dr. Jasmine has been fantastic in kind of taking the charge on that initiative. And it really consists of, getting the store owners on board to see if they're interested in having healthier food options. Part of the partnership that we have with Dr. Jasmine is we're able to provide some financial support to those grocery stores to be able to initially purchase those healthier food items. And Dr. Jasmine, a few days a week, will have her interns and staff actually in the corner stores to do samplings with individuals that come in there so that they can get familiar with healthier options. They're able to taste things like granola bars. If we have fresh produce available, they're able to sample those items as well. So it's been a very successful project, and we hope to expand that even more. The most recent thing that we've done in Acres Homes is that we have relocated and co-located the Acres Homes Farmers Market with the Sowing Seeds Community Garden at the Bethune Empowerment Center in Acres Homes. So Bethune Empowerment Center is also a part of the Complete Communities Plan. And it's really designed to be this really big powerhouse of services and access points for the community. So we were able to relocate our farmers market there and also construct a community garden. The garden space that we have is about 33,000 square feet. We do have a farm associate. Her name's Amanda. She's fantastic. She actually lives right around the corner from Bethune. She's an Acres Homes resident herself that oversees that space. So kind of similar to as Tommy was mentioning, we as Communities for Better Health really do see the garden as an area to foster community in the Acres Homes community. So it's been really fantastic having Amanda there. The initial construction of the garden was actually done by Jeremy Peaches of Fresh Life Organics, and Amanda now maintains the garden space there. We've done some really great gardening education classes that have been a real hit with the community. We've done some work with Ivy Walls from Sunnyside. She's come out and done some classes, and people really enjoy them. We tend to do our gardening classes either the day before the market or actually at the market, and it really does attract the crowd of people to come out and participate when the weather is really nice and Houston weather has not killed everything. We actually are able to have individuals as they're shopping come actually pick some of their produce fresh out of the garden and take home with them. We've had a lot of people that have come up that I really wanted some mustard greens, and maybe our produce vendors have sold out of mustard greens, and we'll allow them to come into the garden to actually pick those fresh and take home with them. If things are ready, we have a combination of vegetables, flowers, edible flowers, herbs, and things of that nature for people to be able to shop and actually pick and take home with them. And then we also do different volunteer days for the community to also help, clean up the garden, weed it. So it's really been a nice hub space for having community residents come out, along with, promoting physical activity and healthy eating. The farmers market itself is a smaller farmers market. We kind of have more of a boutique shopping experience compared to some other farmers markets that you'll see around Houston. So one of the things that, as Tommy mentioned, we always struggle with finding a variety of vendors to participate with us. So that's something that we are actively always trying to improve on, because that's probably one of the areas of feedback is that people just like to see more variety. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we face with having a farmers market. But other than that, the farmers market has really done a good job of serving as an access point for community members to get access to healthier food options, and also serving as a sense of community. We tend to have people come kind of in groups with their neighbors, with their friends, like, hey, we found this on Facebook. We kind of just wanted to stop in and check in, see what's going on. So it really has been successful in that regard. We definitely are looking to expand those options to be able to provide more of a variety of healthy food options is kind of our biggest thing that we're looking for right now. And then we're also going to hopefully continue to do our gardening education classes and having more of those opportunities for the community to stop in and hang out with us at the garden, because people really do enjoy that. The kids really do have a great time of getting their hands in the dirt. So we're really excited about that. Our partnership and relationship with Urban Harvest has been fantastic, because we are able to accept SNAP dollars at the Acres Homes Farmers Market when we do host it. So that's also very exciting for us. And then our partnership with the Office of Complete Communities has been fantastic with getting us connected to different organizations and different resources. One of the new projects that we've been working with Shannon and her team on is there is a shipping container at Bethune that's not as cute as we would like it to be. So we are hoping to be able to engage some students in the community to come up with a really cool design of what that could look like. We're right next door to a fine art school and Acres Homes. So really getting them involved, making sure that they're a part of the process is one of the things that we're looking at, because it's kind of like a rusted brown kind of color, and we would really like it to be a more vibrant kind of thing, so that it's more inviting and more welcoming to the community, so they can participate and hang out with us in that space. I think our biggest challenges, like I mentioned, is the variety of things, but also it's a different way of shopping. Communities of color aren't necessarily used to doing their traditional grocery shopping in a farmer's market kind of way. So that's been something that we have kind of learned along the way, that we do need to have more education and more conversation with the community around shopping at a farmer's market. I think most of us kind of grew up in a household where you're used to going to, the HEB, the Joe V's, the meat markets on the weekend to do your traditional grocery shopping. And, farmer's markets really weren't maybe always a thing or a space where you've done your traditional grocery shopping. So that's something that we've kind of learned along the way, that we need to have more conversations with communities about how they shop, so that we're able to tailor our messaging to them to attract them to come and shop with us. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we've learned. And the other thing that we've learned is that people really didn't want to get their hands in the dirt. I think for us, we were very concerned about whether or not people really would be super excited about the garden, because there are a lot of community gardens in Acres Homes, because it's a traditionally agricultural community. It got its name based on the acres of land that houses used to sit on. So we were like, we might be kind of in an oversaturated market here, but people have really, really enjoyed the gardening piece. So we are definitely excited to bring additional programming in that regard, because I think that was something that we didn't think of at first. We were kind of thinking about using the garden space as a production opportunity to be able to provide more produce at the farmers market, which it does serve that role. But there also is obvious interest in the community about gardening just kind of overall. So we're definitely excited about using that as an education center to hopefully teach people how to grow their own food, and hopefully, continue to support the ecosystem of healthy food access in the Acres Homes community. So that's a little bit about the work of what Communities for Better Health has done in Acres Homes, and we really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all tonight.
Well, I want to thank each of you for giving us a great introduction to yourselves and the organizations you're working with. I'm Cam Yurdy. I'm one of the city planning staff here on the call tonight. And what good would a panel be without someone to moderate and interrupt all the great conversation y'all have already started? I see Mr. Downey making the chat a good way to get the word out and get communication out. So thank y'all for already jumping on the interaction with the rest of the team. But I do have a few questions that I want to ask each of you in the next 20 minutes or so that we have dedicated to this portion of tonight's presentation. And so I'll start by saying I think each of you fit a unique niche in the work that is being done across the city to support food security. And so I know you're going to have some slight variations on the answers here. So I'll call on you for each of these questions directly, but I appreciate any feedback and information you can give us on these questions. So we're going to start. Kristen, I want to jump right back to you and ask, you touched on this a bit, but some of the key lessons learned, what are some of the key lessons learned that you have from your work in Acres Homes specifically, and working to further education about the food security and food challenges that they've experienced?
Yeah, I think for us, our biggest thing that we learned is that we needed to ask a lot of questions along the way. So we definitely did not design this farmers market ourselves. We planned with the Acres Homes community for probably about a year before we even launched. And we had a lot of conversations with the community. What does a farmers market in this community look like? What price points are you all comfortable with? What kind of vendors are you interested in having? We did a lot of those conversations to get to the design, and I think that's why we are still around to this day, is that we designed something with the community in mind. The same thing with the community garden. They've always wanted to have one, but our original space for the farmers market when we first were having it really wasn't the best space to have a community garden. So now that Bethune Empowerment Center is really up and running, that was always the ultimate dream. The ultimate dream for the community was to have the farmers market at Bethune co-located with the garden. So I think for us, just being having a good listening ear with the community is really what has made our work successful, and also has helped guide us on what things need to be addressed. There's always been very open lines of communication with Acres Homes. They've told us the elements about the farmers market that they do not like. Some things we're able to change, some things not so much, because I know one of the things that we got slack about when we first got started was how long our vendor rules were, and how thorough we were on making sure people were in compliance. There's not really too much I can do about that because that's a food safety kind of thing. So some things we're able to actually obviously do something about, but just being able to have that space available for them to share their feedback, their thoughts with us. We've gotten awesome partnerships, collaborations from different organizations and Acres Homes that want to promote our work, because I think we took a very community-based approach to the design that we ended up implementing with them.
There we go. Sorry, I was having trouble clicking the unmute button there. No, listening and hearing what's being told to you is always a great skill that I think no matter what field we're working in is helpful to make sure we're understanding and acting on that feedback. Tommy, I want to jump to you next. Has done great work, and especially in getting the partnership with the county to facilitate your expansion. I don't know if you want to touch on that, but the question is still the same. What sort of lessons have you learned that other folks who may be out there trying to get an urban farming initiative started in their complete community could take away?
Yeah, building off what Kristen mentioned as well, just like listening and really coming in. I think I had been farming for a number of years, so I knew how to grow vegetables, but I think to have an organization that actually is the community feels like it's a part of, takes pride in, and can relate to. I think I like telling people that, failing and trying to find a better solution is better than not trying at all. And I think, sometimes it's hard for us to come up with the answers, and sometimes we just have to put one foot in front of the other. And I can say we've reached this agreement with the county, which we're like really humbled by, but it's also because came with a lot of failures along the way, and learning from our mistakes and learning how to grow better. I think being a part of the Super Neighborhood Council and running the Super Neighborhood, being a part of the Complete Communities Initiative was super vital for us to just partner with organizations and learn how we don't need to be the ones to solve the problem. We need to know what our expertise is and what our strengths are as an organization and how we fit into the existing ecosystem of organizations. And I think, one of our main partnerships over the last year has been last 2 years has been with El Centro de Corazon, which is the federally qualified health clinic in the East End. And, they are already providing health services and serve a community of underinsured and uninsured members in our community. So they don't grow produce, but we do. And it's that sort of collaboration that, we're taking advantage of the strengths of each organization to leverage creating a unique opportunity for our community. So I think asking questions, it's, we talk to a lot of people who are farmers and non-farmers. And I think it's always been, we've always just tried to focus on the quality of what we're doing and knowing that we don't have all the answers, and that shouldn't necessarily stop us.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's great points indeed. Mr. Downey, I want to turn this question over to you as someone who has sort of fighting the good fight on the ground to ensure that that the businesses and entities that do serve our communities are doing it in a way that's befitting of the communities themselves. Any lessons learned, in particular, any challenges that you could touch on in your efforts to get to bring the businesses that are in our communities up to a standard that's acceptable for where we want them to be?
Well, thank you for asking me that. What I've learned over time, over the years, we have to get out of our silos. We have to get out of our silos. We have to collaborate with others. We have to work with our neighbors. Only a map separates communities. We can drive from walk from one community to another. We can learn from other communities. I work with the super neighborhood leaders in Trinity, Houston Gardens, Ms. Hewitt German Wilson, Ms. Kenneth Williams, and we talk daily. And so that being said, we have a lot of commonalities. Not only did we go to the same high school, but I've learned that you can't do it Cashmere Garden alone. You have to work with others. We're grateful to how this our relationship with our market started was actually we have with Urban Harvest, but it was Allison Hay at Habitat for Humanity from long-term recovery from Hurricane Harvey. And she was seeing the efforts that we were putting out there. And so it's very important that you build relationships and keep those relationships, because it can help you, as Tommy and as Kristen has said, it can help you go in the other directions and other areas to help your community. Some of the challenges that I've seen, well, in the community, like Kristen was saying, a lot of our residents are not used to buying healthy food. They're not used to going outside of their four walls of their community to purchase items. You would be surprised how many residents have never seen the Galleria. This is true. Because many do not get outside of those four walls. And when they find out it's a world out there, their eyes open. And so we've learned a lot along the way. And as Kristen said, you can't make the decisions by yourself for what you're selling at these markets. The community has to have a say in what's going on in their community. They should have a say in what's being sold. And that has helped our market to grow. As you have these farmers markets in the community, you will start to have your mainstay customers, and they will keep coming no matter when you open the market. They look forward to the market being open. You don't have to put a flyer out because they know it's going to be open the first and third Saturday of the month. And so getting the word out, we have gardens we built at all of our public schools to teach kids how to grow vegetables, what the names of the different plants are. And the challenges have been to get someone at those schools to help facilitate that. So getting someone that's dedicated to helping the students understand about what, that they can grow. They can grow little gardens in their yards. They can also, get their parents involved, because a lot of times how to reach the child is through the parent. Reach the parent is through the child. And if you get that child to go home and look, mommy, look at what I see. Look at what we did today. A lot of times the parents go, I didn't know that. So bottom line is getting that, building that relationship, getting schools involved. And also I want to say that we also were advocates before Commissioner's Court for the HFFI, the Healthy Food Financing Initiative, to get money for the Houston Food Bank for Urban Harvest, and for a lot of these entities receive $550,000 to help supply food. And I think the first round, of course, went out, but I think the second round is way overdue for money to be put into organizations to help feed people in communities.
That's great. Thank you for that answer and that thoughtful response there. I do want to jump. We have a few folks with their hands raised, and I want to call on them to give them a chance to ask their questions. Ms. Cynthia Sidney, would you like to? I think you were the first one to have your hand up. So would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
You're on mute, Miss Cynthia.
Ms. Cynthia, if you're trying to talk, you're on mute, and I saw your hand went down. I'll give you another minute or a few seconds or so to jump on. If not, I'll jump to the next person who's got their hand raised. Okay. If you're having trouble unmuting there, you can, as Devontae just put in the chat, you can drop your question in the chat and we'll get to them that way as well. Juan Sorto, I think you were next with your hand raised. Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you. Great discussion. So we obviously talked a lot about community organizing and nonprofits and all this stuff, but I think, but one of the topics that was slightly talked about from the panel here was this perspective of the private market and how difficult it is to get the private entity involved, because their bottom line is that they're mostly focused on efficiency versus equity, right? Efficiency meaning McDonald's can sell a product in the fastest possible way, cheapest way. Equity obviously is what this conversation is about, right? The farmers, the produce takes time and it, to grow, but you also have this entire component of this. And so there's always in a city that's very much about the private market, even on the way we do business, right? And the government is limited by, because of revenue cap. The private market, whether we like it or not, has to play a big role on a lot of the things that we are, as community members, want to address. And so when you have a situation, for example, where you have a grocery store that is heavily dependent on by the entire community, and yet they're not selling the right produce, right, or the fresh quality of produce, well, what happens when that grocery store, decides that, you know what, I'm not going to do business here, but I'm going to go to the next community down the road. And so basically, you're not really solving a solution or a problem if, let's say, that that building now remains, vacant. So my question is, and I'm sorry for this long conversation, is what would the panel here see as one of the biggest opportunities to include the private market or in this entire conversation? So how can we as community residents advocate for the private market's involvement in addressing these inequities that we have in our communities?
Great. Does anybody want to take this from our panel? It's a good question. Does anybody have experience with bringing the private market along?
Oh, I'm looking at Tommy.
Okay.
One thing that I would say, community members need to come together, organize, go after grant funding, find a 501c3 in your community that is addressing food insecurity. And some of these, we have in our community, we have abandoned buildings and what have you. Come out, put a plan together, and put that plan together that will be able to address that food insecurity in your community or whatever it is. One, that's what I would say would be my answer, to basically organize, come together, use a 501c3 such as what we have to address that need, to see if, number one, you buy the location, but also bring in those like Jeremy Peaches or what have you, someone that can guide you along the way in areas you might not know of, with relationships you might not know about. That would be my answer.
Yeah, my 2 cents, Juan. It's a great question. I think for me, this is it's like kind of the crux of the issue. It's like grocery stores don't make money on selling fresh produce. It's like they have fresh produce because it attracts people, but they know they're going to lose money on it. So I think there's something within the system that our agricultural policy actually subsidizes commodity crops over vegetables. So, the USDA has this My Plate where it's half fruits and vegetables, half meats and grains. But if you look at our agricultural system, like less than 1% of all land is going towards fruits and vegetables. And there's literally no subsidies for fruit and vegetable farmers. So that's going to make fruit and vegetables just more expensive to produce and makes sodas, much more affordable, fast food much more affordable, because those are based on primarily commodity crops. The second thing is, I think it's going to be hard to rely on the private market. I've had conversations with Easton community leaders who have had funding to bring a grocery store into the East End. But because the community spend of the East End was not at a level that they thought they could sustain their bottom line, it didn't matter. So even in our own, we operate as an LLC and we're trying to transition to a 501c3. We're having issues with the IRS because they're considering us starting a grocery store as a commercial activity. Even though having a store that focuses on fresh fruits and vegetables is basically not a viable business model unless we're going to charge exorbitant rates for our produce, which is just not our mission or what we're trying to do. So I think, to my point, the food system that we have is there because of the policies, the food policies that we have, which makes unhealthy food cheap. And convenience stores and gas stations and fast food restaurants are really the only economically viable food models in our communities. That's the reality. And Keith mentioned HFFI. That's the first amount of funding for fresh food access that I can remember. And we only had we were recipients, thankfully, but they had $1 million to give out in the first round, and they think they only distributed 550,000 of it, because there's not enough organizations that exist in Houston that are at that level to actually try to use those sorts of funds. And we're kind of working within a failed business model. So until there's like policy that incentivizes fresh foods, it just becomes hard to make those numbers work. And what I think is interesting, it's hard to convince people to save money versus make money. It's like one of our neighborhood families, she's had diabetes for 3 decades, and that's on average a $10,000 a year cost on our healthcare system. And she's been a part of our neighborhood produce program, where she gets a bag of fresh produce, meat, eggs, rice, beans, every week or every other week for 9 months, and she lost 15 pounds. And this is a household, that's multi-generational as well. So it's like, and we have to start thinking about where the positive economic investment is and kind of shift money into that. Until we do that, it's hard to, we're in a capitalistic system. So to try to convince a business to go into a place that they're not going to make money, it's just not going to work. So, and that's where it's like trying to find other models is what something that a lot of people are trying to do in communities like ours. And it's just really, you're kind of working against the system.
Yeah, good points all around there. I know we had a few others with their hands raised. We only have about 5 more minutes that we can allot to this section of the night's presentation. So I do want to give those folks a chance to quickly ask their questions, and if our panelists have the ability to respond. If not, we will have opportunities for questions later in the at the end of tonight's presentation. So Andrea Pedraza, I think you were next with your hand up there. Do you want to quickly ask your question?
Yes. First, thank you all for being here tonight and for creating this space for us to engage in such conversations. And I wanted to ask all of the panelists, are there any specific strategies that you all have employed to reach a larger sector of your community? For example, as Tommy was talking, there's multi-generational households in Second Ward, but that's also true for Kashmir Gardens. And so we know that certain language barriers, especially for the Hispanic and Latino community, exist, technological gaps, especially for the older population. So I wanted to see if you all could share more about strategies that your community has employed to address those issues.
In Kashmir Garden, what we've done is, we have, I would say 40s in the 40% of Hispanics, with the remainder being African American. And what we have done is try to build relationships with all, as far as all races and cultures, because, you're not in this thing by yourself. And so saying that, reaching out to residents who don't look like me, who don't speak like me, or don't think like me, is very important. And so we've been doing that in Kashmir because our communities are changing. They are. And we have to reach across, not across the aisle, because we're all in this thing together, but reaching out to the schools. Everyone has a network. My network is different than your network. If you're getting some information to me, I can get that out to my network who has networks. So reaching the schools who are connected to the parents, be it African American or Hispanic, in our schools in the community. Not only that, but also our churches. We're church rich. Getting with the pastors, and I believe in a top-down approach, not a bottom-up approach. Reaching out to the head of the church, because a lot of times the gatekeeper doesn't understand what you're talking about. And they can block a great thing that could help people because they don't understand. And they're basically a translator. but reaching across the community to make sure that you're addressing people that speak differently, put things in English and Spanish. And I know Juan Soto is a big proponent of that. And he has taught me, make sure that you're addressing all cultures in the community, not just the one that you're comfortable with. And so that's what I've been able to do. And Ms. Huey in Trinity and Houston Garden does as well.
Do any of our other panelists want to touch on that? If
I'm sorry.
not, yes.
We need to, there's another question. Is that Miss, I see, I'm sorry, Moonflower Farms.
Yes, hello. Sorry, I jumped in a little bit late. I just want to let you know we're in South Houston. We're near Almeda, Genoa, and Cullen. We are a hydroponic farm. We produce about 1,000 heads of fresh lettuce every day. We produce 1,000 basils every day. My biggest problem is getting into the grocery stores. I finally got a commitment from Kroger, which we're doing, but we're going to start doing community outreach because we have ample product. In a very small, in a 20,000 square foot hydroponic greenhouse, we produce 1,000 heads of lettuce a day, 1,000 basil a day, and we're overflowing with product. So I'm in the private sector, and we've got really good outreach from the educational. A lot of ISDs have come to visit us and have tours. But I would love to find a way to work with some of your communities and see how we can get this product out there, because we're very competitive with what's already on the shelves, and we're much higher quality than what's on the shelf. So we work with MD Anderson and NASA, and I'm just trying to figure out how we can reach out. And maybe we have to have a farmer's market once a month so everybody knows where we're at. But we are overflowing with product, and I'd hate to see anybody going hungry or having nutritionally dense food that they should be having every day when we have plenty of it. So I just wanted to comment on that. We have the technology to make it happen. We could do 4 times more in the same footprint if we had the base. So putting that out there.
Thank you for bringing that to the space and letting us know. I appreciate that comment. I will say, for those who still have their hand raised, I'm going to encourage you to put any of your questions into the chat box, and maybe if our panelists are able to answer them directly in the chat, they could do that as well. Alternatively, if you want to wait until the end, we will have more time for Q&A at that point. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Benny from the city as well, who is going to take us to the next section of tonight's presentation.
Good evening, everyone. In this next portion, we're going to be speaking with City of Houston Health Department with Misty Saroff and Cheryl Shepherd. They will be speaking on the SNAP application assistance, also access to care, and also how to report those establishments in the community that need those attention to providing better food in the community.
Hello, everyone. My name is Misty Saroff. I work for City of Houston Health Department. Almost going to be 30 years next month. And I've always been in the retail food inspection. So our program, because the our bureau has different programs, food establishment, for pool inspections, mobile food units inspection, the food trucks that you know of, also EMS vehicles, and FOG, that's fat, oil, and grease complaints. So there are different sections, different supervisor. I'm the supervisor of northeast corner of Houston. As part of our program, City of Houston is divided to 4 sections, and with 4 different supervisor and a group of inspector that's under our supervision. So my corner is northeast corner, and that's how I got to know Mr. Downey, got involved with him in the concern they had about view of the establishment or convenience store in that neighborhood. But definition of food establishment in our city ordinance is just any establishment, any facility that prepares, stores, or serve, or package, or vends any type of thing, any food that you can serve to human and serve for human consumption is considered as a food establishment. It can be a school, it can be a club, it can be a grocery store, convenience store, regular restaurants, liquor stores, anywhere that you can find anything you can eat or drink that's considered food, even ice. If they're selling just ice, it falls under our jurisdiction and we have to inspect. So we do a regular routine inspection at each food establishment. Every inspector has a list, to-do list every month that they have to complete the list by end of the month. And the establishment, the way it shows on the list, on the routine inspection list, it depends on the risk of the operation they have. We have 3 different type of establishment: risk 1, risk 2, and risk 3. Risk 1 is basically is all packaged, commercially packaged foods. Might be, may apply to liquor store if they don't sell ice, if they don't have ice machine in the store. It's all commercially made and packaged. The second, the risk 2 is mostly applies to medium risk food establishment, like the fast food facilities. They don't have plates, glasses, or silverware to wash and sanitize, so this kind of to-go boxes or containers. And the risk 3 is a full service restaurants or establishment that have kind of complicated operation. They have multi-level of food operation and preparation, and therefore they are in high risk for in our category. But depends on the risk of this facility and the score they get at each inspection. The frequency of the inspection for the next time will pop up on the list. And there is a matrix in our system in digital health that figures out when we have to go back to that specific location. And that's because of the score they got at the previous inspection and the risk they have. Unless we receive complaints about those establishments, that we have to respond, and we don't wait until they show up on the list. And our program is very much depend on the good citizen to report those problems to us, because not all violation may exist at the time of the inspection, and we may not see everything that happens there. That's why it's things that we may see today, it may not exist tomorrow. Same thing for the foodborne illnesses. The complaint we get, you are eating different food, different day, and by the time you file a complaint and we receive it and assign it to the inspector, although all the foodborne complaints should be investigated within 24 hours, but still we are not checking the exact same food that you ate. So there are some things that you have to consider. We just, in those cases, we look for the evidence to see if there is any wrong practices or inappropriate practices, improper sanitation that we might relate that may have caused the issue. But as far as the food expiration goes, that's much easier, because you go and look at the date on the package and you see it's expired. The reason that we remove those foods from the shelf when we find it is not necessarily because it's spoiled. Not all expired food are spoiled. So we remove it from the shelf because they're not properly represented. So I know unless you find foul odor or an unusual look or texture on the food, then you say, yes, there's something wrong with this food. But basically, we do all this, we take all the complaints very seriously, and we respond to every single one of them. And we do our best to bring those establishments to compliance. Our job is more educational. We are more educator than enforcer. We try to work with the operator and business owner to do better and bring their establishment to compliance. So they have a good business relationship with their customers in the neighborhood, and customer can enjoy healthy food and no worries about buying something that may make him sick. But besides those, the information that you can see, we take complaints 3 different ways: by phone calls, you can call that number that you see, or they're online. You go to that website, you can file a complaint online. By the way, you can file a complaint for any of those programs I told you on that website. So food, if you have a problem with food trucks, you have a problem with the restaurant, you have a problem with the grease trap overflowing and causing problem on the street or the parking lot or sidewalk. You can click on any of those issues that you'd like to file a complaint against and file it. Or last one, the email address is just for the food establishment, the chs@HoustonTX. We receive complaint about food trucks and regular food establishment. So this is basically what we do, and we are all hoping that you citizens just keep sending your complaints, your concerns, and so we can take care of this establishment better and resolve the issue the best way we can. And I thank you very much for having me here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cheryl Shepherd, and I also work for the Houston Health Department. Do you mind? Thank you. Thank you so much. So my role with the Houston Health Department, we have a wonderful director who believes that access to care is very important. Some have mentioned some of the other areas that we serve. We do have a chronic disease section in the health department that focuses on fresh fruits and vegetables, and they work with the local grocery stores. We do farmers markets, and we do WIC, and use the SNAP benefits to serve and allow them to pick fresh fruits and vegetables. But what my team specifically does is connects the uninsured and underinsured to resources and to coverage. And I believe Tommy alluded to FQHCs and the importance of that other side. So I have a team that will assist the community in applying for those SNAP benefits. We also do Harris Health Financial Assistance Program, and most people know it in the community as the Gold Card. We help connect individuals to our clinics. We have dental for the children, and we have family planning and other services that we offer. And as I mentioned earlier, to some basic needs, referrals and resources. One of the challenges, if you'll go to the next slide, please. One of the challenges, oh, I don't think that this is the right one. So this has just been some of our, the numbers of people that we've helped over the years. So I'll just talk for now. One of the challenges that we see is that people have issues with completing the applications. There are some basic documents that are needed with their income, ID, proof of residency. And so sometimes they don't complete the application and it is stuck, or it is pending and waiting on documents to be sent to them, and then they go without because they have trouble. So what this team does is to try to troubleshoot. We help them acquire those documents that may be missing, and we help them just review the documents. We have the ability, we work closely with the state, so we have the ability to kind of check their status with their permission. And with Harris Health, the Gold Card, we can complete the entire process for them. So COVID has had an impact. Prior to COVID, we had a team, a individual in our 11 multi-service centers and our 4 health centers. But since then, we have centralized our operations and had to go to a call center approach. So I'm going to see if I can share real quick so I can make sure that you get our contact information. So these are some of the required documents for all of the programs. And so when people are applying for SNAP benefits, sometimes they don't have these documents and they send it in and then it's kind of in limbo until they receive those documents and they never know. They get the mail or the information, and so we kind of help them navigate those services. I mentioned some of the common challenges early. If the application is incomplete, it's just kind of stuck. So we help them work through those things. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this is our call center number. With partners, we take referrals and they email us and we help their clients kind of navigate. We work closely with Texas Children's Hospital. We work with the Covenant House, Memorial Hermann, and other places where people go, LBJ, to help those that are uninsured or underinsured kind of navigate those resources. So I am happy to answer any questions about what we do and how we assist with navigating. But again, this has been a wonderful discussion. I'm super excited about what everyone is doing. I am going to take it back and share with our chronic disease assistant director, and hopefully she can connect with some of you all because she does advocate for those communities and advocate for funding. And she is one that is bringing farmers markets to the community as well. So thank you.
We have a few raised hands in the chat.
Okay, so the first raised hand I see is Angeline. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, my question is kind of referring back to the previous segment. I have a nonprofit organization and I'm also a former restaurant owner in the East End district. And I've been providing hot meals to senior citizens and to at-risk youth. I'm a foster parent, and I know that there was a huge necessity in the space for foster kids, the children without placement, as well as some low-income senior citizens in the Sunnyside community. I wanted to know if anyone on the panel or either participating had information on how I could get funding and support so that I could expand into a larger space and be able to do this on a consistent level. What I've been doing is obtaining donations from friends, family, and also from the food bank. And I would just take the food that I'm obtaining from the food bank and use my restaurant space to prepare and to deliver. But just from even with the other representative that was from Moonflower Farms, it seems like there's a, a gap that if we could, find a way to partner and bridge the gap. I have the means to prepare food and to deliver food, but sometimes I'm limited and, I do what I can, but I know that collectively, I wanted to just kind of put the question out there. If someone could navigate me in the right direction of how I could utilize what I'd like to do in this organization to be more productive on a larger scale.
Okay, next week, Miss,
we're-
I'm sorry.
We're going to open that to any of the panelists as well as anyone else on the call that could give a response.
Yeah, I can't think of any specific grants off the top of my head, but I know there is a company called Grant Station that allows you to kind of search through some different grant opportunities that you may find fruitful, that may be fitting for what you're trying to do. I would recommend that. There's also, definitely local foundations here in Houston that support this kind of work. LISC usually does small grant awards. They're very tiny, but it's a good start if you're interested in just getting some level of grant support to do what you are trying to do. And like I said, I can't think of anyone's off the top of my head, but definitely Grant Station, local foundations, Episcopal Health, Houston Endowment. Those kind of organizations usually do have some type of funding rounds that they go for. And I'm also happy if you need assistance with grant writing, let us know. Communities for Better Health has done community grant writing training for community residents to be able to do things. So there's a lot of good people that want to get started somewhere. So I'm happy to be a resource for that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be sure to drop your information in the chat.
Okay, we have one more hand raised. Ricky, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Ricky Cardenas. I'm a resident of District H, Super Neighborhood 63. I'm sorry if someone already answered this question, but I just wanted to ask, is there a resource that someone can put in the chat that just kind of lists all the farmers markets around the neighborhood? Over here where I live is, I guess you could kind of consider it a food desert. The nearest grocery store is a few miles away, but I think it'd be helpful if that information was all in one place. Thank you.
Ricky, we think that's a great idea. We're actually working on that as the planners. That's one of our upcoming projects to try and get locations of all the farmers markets in areas and also a map that we can put on Let's Talk Houston. We are not aware of one place where they exist as of yet, but we are looking to update our maps on our end with all of that information. And that will be on letstalkhouston.org.
Ricky, in the East End, the East End District puts on the East End Street Market on Sundays, I believe from 10 to 2, right on the Esplanade in front of Navigation. I know we can't help you right now, but we ran a farm stand before we put our farm on pause, and we'll have a farm stand and grocery store here once the farm's back up and running. I'll see if I can find a link to put in the chat, but I believe the Houston Chronicle put an extensive list together sometime last year. So if I can find the article quickly here, I'll put in the chat.
Thank you, guys.
May I add something to it? We also, because all certified farmers market, we permit them, and I can get a list and provide it to Lindsay, and you can post it, on somewhere that people can have access to it. But farmers market, if You're not the grower. If you are the grower of that produce and you want to sell it, you can have your own farmers market and sell it anywhere you want. You don't need any permit from us. But if you are not the grower and you're buying it from somewhere else and want to attend or create a farmers market, there are two different 1 to 10 vendors and 10 and more vendors, two different permits. And so it's kind of umbrella permit for those certified market. And you have to be certified with the state first and then get certified with the health department in City of Houston, if they are located in City of Houston, because when it comes to this type of operation, the City of Houston and Harris County are separate. So they have their own health department, we have their own health department. Although City of Houston is located in Harris County, but it's completely different entities. So if the address of that location farmers market falls under our jurisdiction, we have the list and name of those certified farmers market. That I will get it as soon as I go back to office, try to research it and provide it to you.
Yeah, and Ricky, I saw Sam put in the chat there. I didn't mention them, sorry, Sam. But he's opening up Little Red Box Grocery Store, which is right on Harrisburg and Sampson, right in the heart of the Second Ward.
All right, everyone, let's move on to the next portion of the meeting. We have some of our partners who will discuss more about their programs and initiative. And first up, we have Prairie View A&M University with their Healthy initiative in Harris County.
Hello, everyone. My name is Whitney Mack. I am the Family and Community Health Extension Associate for Prairie View A&M Cooperative Extension Healthy Houston Initiative. I'm going to share my screen if possible. All right. Can anybody see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay. Okay. Just letting you look a little bit, few pictures of Cooperative Extension Healthy Houston Initiative in Harris County. We started around October 2020 is where we initially began the program, but we started implementing programs in May 2020. Our mission is to improve the health, nutrition, and wellness of underserved communities in Houston, Texas. We are committed to increasing awareness of nutritional and health services available to families by improving healthy self-care practices through screenings, assessments, referrals, and access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So just a little history about us. We have 4 colleges in our initiative, the College of Agriculture and Human Sciences, College of Nursing, and College of Business, as well as the College of Juvenile Justice. Just some programs we implement departments is 4-H and youth development, family and community health, ag and natural resources, and expanded food, nutrition, and education programs. So just going into it, 4-H and ag and natural resources, we implement programs that are curriculum-based. Heroes for Health focus on getting our youth to be health ambassadors. They give out health services, learning about health, gardening, and cooking skills. Igniting Sparks, we use the movie Sparks by finding their spark into being in their getting older and figuring out what they want to be as they get older in life. Operation College Access is our program that we use to let students figure out what they want to be in life using college curriculum, as well as community agriculture and school sustainability program, where we use agriculture, whether it's using the gardens and figuring out how they can build agricultural life skills. FCH, that's what I do, Family Community Health, and FNIP. Our goal is to plan and deliver programs that are also curriculum-based in health and well-being. We use programs that are also curriculum-based. Usually it's about 6 lessons for each curriculum that we have. So we have Taste of African and Latin Heritage. Our youth all the way up to the older adults look into the history of African and Latin heritage, as well as we correlate recipes and fun games that the youth and older adults can participate in. Chef Choose Healthy Food, Fun, and Fitness. That's just a fun way of using my plate and using recipes and snacks so the youth can figure out different ways that they can eat healthier and have healthier lifestyles. Teen Cuisine is for our older adults that are in high school or I would say 8th grade. We focus on food safety as well as letting them be able to learn how to cook and use different recipes. Our Nutrition Food Challenge, that's one of our favorites. We focus on food safety. And then at the end, after we teach our food safety, the students are able to compete against each other. And we give them a brown bag. We put a whole bunch of different items inside the bag. And they have to make recipes and compete. So it's like a 2-hour thing. It's kind of like Chopped. Welcome to the Real World. We use this curriculum. The students are able to give us jobs that they would like to be, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, if they want to be a teacher. And we go over the basics, whether it's how to do a check, how to balance a check, how to balance savings, what would you do with that money, and how would you navigate throughout just buying homes and whatnot. Our community gardens that we have placed so far since May 2020 is Highland Heights Elementary, Ezra's Holmes Multi-Service Center, Codwell Elementary, Fleming Middle School, and McWilliams Middle School. And this is just a few collaborative partners that we have worked with so far: UT Health School of Public Health, MD Anderson, Texas Children's Hospital, Houston Parks and Recreation Department, Houston Food Bank, Harris Healthy System, Houston ISD, Elite ISD, and many more. So our impact since 2020, we have reached 16,987 participants, individuals in Houston, Harris County. So far for FCH is 12,714, where the students learn about recipes, they learn about what to do with the food from the farm. 4-H, 3,547, and FNIP 726. Just a few pictures of what we have done so far. We have done screenings on COVID. We have also implemented our gardens. You see here, we have our smoothie bike down there, where we put smoothie items inside of the smoothie, and then they get to ride the bike, as well as giving out just a lot of resources. So that's just all I have for today. Thank you. Trying to stop, sorry.
Okay, we have our next speaker is Kids Meal, and we will do questions once everyone finishes the presentations.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. My name is Olivia Cunningham, and I'm with Kids Meals. We are a nonprofit organization that offers meal delivery program to about 45 zip codes in Harris County. We have about 10 delivery drivers that go out Monday through Friday all year round and delivering healthy meals straight to the doorsteps of families that live in food insecure conditions. We focus on preschool age. One qualifying factor for our program is having a preschool age child, 5 and under. One reason why we do focus on this age is because these kids are not in school yet, so they're not able to access these school-based lunches and getting this food, the same access to the lunches in school. So we know that these are the most critical years of growing for children, and they benefit greatly off of having a healthy diet. And sometimes these food insecure conditions or living in a food desert or just not having access to healthy foods can really hinder a child's development and lead to a you know, just troubling future. If it can, research has shown that a child can start years behind just off of not being able to access nutritious meals in those critical years, 5 and under. So that's one reason why we do focus on that age range. Sign up for our program is very easy. It's completely free service. We do have a one-page application. We do ask about other benefits received, not anything that in our program doesn't impact any benefits that the families will get, but we just ask just for information, statistical information for us, just to know if we run statistics to know how many of our clients are receiving WIC or receiving SNAP or anything like that. Not only do we provide a daily lunch for these children at home and deliver straight to the home, we try to offer, we take out produce, milk anytime we get those shipments into the warehouse. Like I said, our drivers go out every day. We also offer a pretty good amount of wraparound services. We have a department that's just focused on that. Any research that our clients need linked to, we try to provide that bridge for not just food and nutrition, but any other needs that they might have. Like I said, our drivers do go out all year round. We do focus on the 5 and under, but when school is out or holidays, or if you have kids that are doing virtual learning and are at home most of the day, we do feed those children as well. And we feed older siblings up to 17 years of age. So right now we're feeding about 5,500 kids daily. When school is out and during the holidays and during the summer, when we're feeding the older kids as well, we're feeding over 7,000. So our mission is always to add more kids. Always looking for partnerships. I myself am the operations coordinator with Kids Meals, so I handle application intake. I update our delivery routes and make sure they're up to date for our drivers, and supervise them on a day-to-day basis to make sure we're getting our routes covered and our clients' needs are being met. We also have, I'm in charge of recruiting events. So we did have an event over the weekend where we partnered up with the organization that had an event at a church, and we ended up signing up about 46 kids there. So we're all about adding kids and feeding more and gauging the needs of our community. Like I said, we are in about 45 zip codes now, but we're looking to hit maximum efforts in those zip codes before we expand more, because what we know is there's about 26,000 preschool age children that live in food insecure homes. So we're feeding, just a pretty nice chunk, but there's more out there for us to feed. So that's our goal, is just to reach more kids on a daily basis and get our name out there, because a lot of people don't know about us. And like I said, it's a completely free service, and we're coming straight to the doorstep all year round to meet that food insecure need. So thank you thank you. So that's really the slides that are up now that Lindsay is showing. Basically a wraparound of what I said about us. Our focus group of these preschool age children, as you can see some of those pictures of our kiddos. I myself started off as a driver, and going out every day, we kind of become an extension of the family for these clients that we serve every day, and they use us for any and every need that they might have, not just food. They might tell us any other needs, transportation needs, or job needs and things like that. And like I said, we try to connect them with any services or bridge any gap to help them get connected to the right organization or resource that they might need. And then our mission statement here is to end childhood hunger by delivering free, healthy meals to the doorsteps of Houston's hungriest preschool age children through collaboration, and provide their families with resources to help end the cycle of poverty. Thank you for putting that up there. I will put my information in the chat as well as our website. You can see more information. We also have a delivery map zones. You can see the zip codes that we're in on our website. We also have volunteering options where our volunteers come through Monday through Saturday to help us pack these lunches that we distribute on a daily basis, help us get together our grocery bags that we distribute, and help us group together any produce that we get that comes in bulk. So there's volunteer opportunities. We also have a volunteers program to come in and drive a short route and kind of get that experience of giving these meals out to these young kids. It can be a very eye-opening and just great experience, warm experience going out and knowing that you're the reason why this child can eat today. So I'll wrap it up there and just thank everybody for their time. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia, and also thank you, Whitney, for the presentation. Next up, we have the Houston Food Bank. You have the floor.
Hi, my name is Natalie Hill with the Houston Food Bank. I am the Community Development Senior Manager. I am working on pulling up my screen right now. So can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So a little about the Houston Food Bank. We are very fortunate to be the largest food bank in the country by pounds that we distribute. We're in 18 counties throughout Southeast Texas, which goes all the way up to College Station, down to Freeport, over to past Baytown, like Winnie, out to Sealy and Brookshire. We have actually now over 1,600 community partners, which includes food pantries, schools, social service sites, and everything in between. I'm going to try to do this pretty quickly today, even though I know there are probably some things I'll forget in 5 minutes. But our most common question is, what should somebody do if they need food assistance? They can use our Pantry Locator and find the pantries and other sites that are closest to them. Or they can also call our call center at this number. They can call outside of business hours and leave a voicemail, and somebody will get back to them the next business day as well. This is an example of what the Pantry Locator looks like on our website. And so you can see all of the locations, whether they're pantries or non-pantries, closest to where you live, which is really helpful for people. If you would like to become a partner in distributing food to the community, there is an application process and some training that's involved in that, but that also can be found on our website, and I'll navigate on our website at the end of this presentation to show you where to find that. But there's a little bit more information on how to become a partner agency and what requirements there are. Also, if you would like to host a food drive, we call them food and fund drives because we know that cash is important as well. There's also information about that on our website. We provide a toolkit. We help you advertise in some circumstances. And depending on how much food you collect, we can actually pick that up at your site as well, rather than you having to come to our building. We have our partner pantry program, which we love, but we also have some other programs that we operate as well to keep an eye out for. Our Backpack Buddy program is in the schools. We're in over 800 schools this year, and we provide food for children to have over the weekend when they don't have access to free and reduced lunches. So on any given week, we're handing out over 8,000 backpacks. We also have our Kids Cafe program that focuses on hot meals. So we are actually about to head into our summer feeding season, which is a lot happens during the summer, and we feed a lot of children. I think our kitchen is at capacity, usually at about 15,000 meals a day. So if you would like to potentially become a summer meal site, information is on our website about how to start that application as well. During the school year, we also have supper and snack at after-school programs at YMCA's, Boys and Girls Club, and all kinds of congregate sites in between. For older children, we have our school market program at middle schools and high schools. This program is really special because students actually run this market themselves. So you'll see high school students really building their leadership skills and serving their community and becoming the future of what it's going to look like to take care of your community when you're older. We also have our senior box program, which is a monthly box for seniors who qualify based on income. And it's commodities, so shelf stable rice, beans, and some canned goods. And as we're able, we supplement that box with protein, fresh produce, and even health items as well, like blood pressure cuffs. We have our food scholarship program, which is specific to college campuses. So we're at almost every college campus in Houston, and that's 60 pounds of food at eligible sites. So a great resource for any college student you know who needs to eat something healthier than just ramen. That is our goal. We also have the food prescription program, which is specifically for patients at specific federally qualified health centers who are managing a chronic condition. They can get a prescription for healthy food and then get fresh fruits and vegetables twice a month, 30 pounds twice a month, so a good amount of produce. We also have our community assistance program, which assists with SNAP application assistance, but also other applications like LIHEAP for utility assistance, Medicaid, TANF. Those are all things that we have navigators for on site. Also, they can help via phone, video call, or come out to your site to help people apply for benefits pretty consistently. We also offer nutrition education classes using the MyPlate curriculum, and that can be for children all the way up to seniors, so that people know how to eat healthy on a budget and really maximize the health benefits that they're getting out of every meal they eat. We also have job training programs on site at the Houston Food Bank. We're very fortunate to have a very large commercial kitchen and plenty of opportunities to make food. And so we take a cohort several times a year of students who get their Serve Safe certification and hands-on experience in a kitchen to really get out into the workforce and increase their income. We also, if you've ever been to the food bank, you see how large our warehouse is. And so we've expanded our job training program to include warehousing and logistics. So those students will and leave with potentially a TWIC card. They'll have literacy training, computer literacy training, OSHA general certification, forklift certification. Those are all things that students leave that program with as well. Also, we keep our website pretty up to date, and so I just want to navigate you to a few important pages. If you go to houstonfoodbank.org, you can go to About Us, our partners, and then Partner Locator, and it'll show you all of the locations that are close to you. And so it's a good practice to maybe keep the pantry closest to you at top of mind. You can also see all of our programs here, and if there's an application process to become a partner for these programs or to learn more about them, all of that information is housed here as well. And of course, we always want to have volunteers on site, and so you can find out more about how to volunteer at the Houston Food Bank as well. So thank you, and I'll leave it to the next presenter.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for that presentation. Next up, we have Brighter Bites with Thelma. You have the floor.
All right, let's see. I need to turn my camera, I see. Let me see. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how to turn the camera around. Okay. Do you guys have my presentation, Benny? Does Lindsay have it? I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm, okay, there we go. I'll turn it around. Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm Thelma Green with Brighter Bites. I'm the Senior Program Manager for Brighter Bites here in Houston. I'm so happy to be here with you guys this evening. I'm here just to give you a quick little presentation about our organization, who we are and what we do out in our community. Thank you so much, Benny and Lindsay, for having us and also for having our presentation ready. We can go to the next slide. All right. Well, Brighter Bites, we are a nonprofit. Our mission is to create communities of health through fresh food, and we do so by using 3 pillars or 3 components, as we call it. We can move forward to the next slide, so I can go over those 3 components and how we do our program. All right. Our first and our main pillar is our produce distribution. This is when we partner with different elementary schools around Houston and surrounding areas, and we provide all students and families with anywhere between 20 to 25 pounds of fresh produce weekly. We also include nutrition education in our program as well. There's 2 parts of that where we use our teachers as a big help. They're the one teaching nutrition education lessons in the classroom for us. And we also do nutrition education directly to parents and also guardians and such that come to the school to partake in the program. Our third component is something we call our fun food experience, and this is when we really get to connect the dots with all the components. So we are able to go out to schools to do food demonstration and recipe tasting and things of that nature. All right, we'll go to the next slide. This is just give you a little bit of an overview or like a picture in itself. I'm sorry, can you go back? I'm sorry, Benny. This is just a quick picture of our produce distribution, kind of how it looks out in the schools. So we partner with the Houston Food Bank, and our goal is, again, to create communities of health through fresh food. So we bring produce into the school, and we try to give families a variety of 8 to 12 different produce items by every week. And we use the school, they use their staff, volunteers, which could be, family members or just, retired teachers that come out to support us along with our staff as well. So this is just a little glimpse of how a produce distribution or produce bagging rather will look in the schools when everything is taking place. All right. We also have a really cool system where we get to actually track our families. So each school that we serve, we create a roster system where we're able to follow each family in real time. So this means that we're able to see how frequently a student or a family is participating in our program. We're able to send them nutrition education information electronically, and we're able to also communicate any type of updates and also send them surveys and do some focus groups and things of that nature by using our app and our system. All right, our next slide. All right, so our nutrition education is just to kind of give you a little bit more information of how we do that. We use a evidence-based curriculum called CATCH. Again, this is something that the teachers help us with in the classroom. There was somebody on this call that mentioned how important it is to get everybody involved. When we partner with the school, the entire school becomes involved, from the principal to the teacher to the student to the parents. And this is how we become successful at that school. So there was somebody who said that it's really, you have the student get excited about the produce and take that excitement home to their parents or guardians and actually educate the parents on the produce items because they hear it in the classroom from the teachers. So it is really a school-wide effort, and it just becomes this really great relationship with all the different people at that school. All right, we'll go to the next slide. And our fun food experience, again, this is when we get to come in and pretty much just put a bow on everything and have fun with our families and our students and introduce them to new ways of cooking and how to cook certain produce, because a lot of these families and students that we serve, they are unfamiliar with some of the produce items that we give them, spaghetti squash. How do you cook that? How do you even open it? How do you select it in the grocery store? We use these opportunities to come out to guide families because we want them to be successful. This program is a behavioral change program. In order for families to be successful, we want to give them the tools to do so. So next slide. All right, a little bit about the school year right now that we're in. So 21-22, we're serving 45 elementary schools around Houston and surrounding areas. The reason why we focus on elementary school, so we do K through 5th. It's a really important time frame of a child's life. In order to get a child's palate to really understand food and how important certain food is, to start at that age, it really helps a lot. So K through 5th is the only grades that we do serve. So we only serve elementary schools. We can go to the next slide. We're currently serving Houston, Alief, Pasadena, Galena Park, Aldine, and Fort Bend. Those are the districts that we're in right now. Any families whose child is enrolled at the schools that we serve, they can participate in the program. It's an open enrollment, so that means that a family can participate at any time. The first week we're there, or week number 16, they can enroll in our program. We do a 3 years on and 3 years off, which means their school can be in our program for up to 3 years if they follow all the requirements, and then they roll off for 3 years, giving other schools and other districts to be able to partake in our program as well. We're looking to expand our efforts in the 3rd ward and the 5th ward area. We do have a handful of schools in those areas, but we know that the need is pretty large over there. So we would love to see some more partners in that area. So for anyone on this call that's just very familiar with that area, we would love to hear from you guys. All right, to the next slide. Application is very simple. We currently have the summer application as well as the school year application for next school year on our website. The application will take you about 10 minutes. So if you do know a school that would be a great candidate for Brighter Bites, and I'm going to go over the requirements just real quick after this slide. But like I said, the application is up on our website for both summer and also for the next school year. All right, some of the requirements, eligibility requirements that we have, we like to see that a school is sitting on about 80% or more of free or reduced lunch. Also, Title I school would also be equivalent to that, or 75% or more students live below the federal poverty line. Those are some of the requirements that we look at when we partner with schools. All right. And of course, I don't know if you guys heard me mention that we do partner with the Houston Food Bank. The Houston Food Bank are the ones who provide us with a lot of the produce items that we do use. Majority of our produce are donated. So our goal is to push those produce out in the community and to minimize, food waste that happens so much in the U.S. today. Volunteers, I heard, I think it was Miss Natalie who was talking about volunteers. Brighter Bites, our program, runs solely on volunteers. We have about, I want to say about 25 staff, paid staff members on our team here in Houston, but volunteers is a huge factor for our program to be successful. Volunteers are provided by the schools that we partner with, but we also need volunteers weekly also at the Houston Food Bank to help us as well. I think that is all that I have. Let me see if I have anything else. That was all that I have. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for having us here this evening. It's been very insightful to listen to all of the amazing stories and things that you guys are doing around the community. And I hope I get to connect with you who's been here tonight to learn more about, great schools that we can partner with. So thank you so much.
Is there anything in the chat room?
I'm sorry?
Is your information in the chat room?
It is not. Well, yes. Benny just added it, so it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Benny, we have one raised hand.
Yes, go ahead. Angeline, you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, my question was for the previous segment for the panelists that are with the health department. I wanted to know if, what the rules were regarding like the cottage law for preparing food and delivering to the public out of your home.
Okay, I believe it's referring to me. Cottage food law, the state says that you can prepare non-potentially hazardous food that they do not need refrigeration or they don't spoil. Cookies, cakes, this kind of nature, pickles, or so. There is a list of cottage food that you can find on the state website. But the rule is that it has to be prepared as at a resident and has to be sold from there. You cannot go door to door and sell it. You can, if you wish, because we have some cottage food, operator that go to the farmers market and they want to, sell their items over there. They can do that, but they have to obtain a temporary food permit from us to be there. There is a conversation at the state level to make an exemption for this cottage food law. It's still in discussion. It's not finalized yet, but they're deciding to kind of allow cottage food to be at any farmer's market without getting a permit from the local health department. So at this point, you are allowed to sell from home and prepare everything at home and just from the list of cottage food items. And if you are willing to go to other events to participate and sell your products, you have to get a temporary food permit from Houston Health Department if that event is located in City of Houston.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you to our presenters this evening. I'd like to turn it over to Lindsay Williams to close us out.
Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Are there any other questions before we wrap this up? Awesome. We will be putting this recording on our Planning and Development Department website, YouTube, as well as our Let's Talk Houston websites. You can see the screen. That is how you can get in contact with your direct complete community, as well as your complete community planner. We would like to open it up if anyone has any community announcements or any upcoming events that they would like to share at this time. Please feel free to do so. Or drop your information in the chat as well, and your flyer. You can place that in the chat. But if we don't have anyone with anything else, thank you for spending so much time with us tonight. We're a little bit over, but we really appreciate it. We hope you found the information valuable and the conversation as a starter to one that we hope we can continue and grow partnerships with and build on. We understand that we have to work together as a community, whether that be the public, private, or grassroots efforts. We all need to come together to really help our communities achieve food security. We want to thank our residents for joining us tonight from all across Houston. We also want to thank our panelists for joining us tonight from their organizations, as well as our City of Houston representatives and our partner organizations. And thank you for doing the work that needs to be done, because most importantly, that's really what this is all about, is bridging the gap for healthy communities and making our communities more complete. So with that, I'm going to, tons of people are dropping their information in the chat. So please check the chat. It'll be available throughout. If you have the Microsoft Teams app, you'll be able to reference it at any point and just kind of look and see what's in the chat, what partners you can connect with, and what resources you can utilize. So feel free to utilize the chat at your leisure as well. So we are going to sign off this evening. Thank you.
All very much for organizing and having us on this program. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Night.